countries show solidarity to the Palestinian struggle, and you can see the headline on the screen there. Bolivia becomes first country to sever ties with Israel over war with Hamas. And you love to see it. Now, they're the only ones who have officially severed ties, but other Latin countries have shown their solidarity, other ways by expelling their ambassadors and so on and so on. I'm gonna bring up a Reuters article. This is written by Daniel Ramos. Bolivia said on Tuesday it has broken diplomatic ties with Israel because of its attack on the Gaza Strip, while neighbors Colombia and Chile recall their ambassadors to the Middle East countries for consultation. The three South American nations lambasted Israel's attack on Gaza and condemned the deaths of Palestinian citizens. Bolivia decided to break diplomatic relations with the Israeli state in repudiation and condemnation of the aggressive and disproportionate Israeli military offensive taking place in the Gaza Strip. Deputy Foreign Minister Freddy Mamani, I think that's how you say it, Mamani, said at a press conference the three countries called for a ceasefire, with Bolivia and Chile pushing for the passage of humanitarian aid in the zone and accusing Israel of violating international law. Colombian President Gustavo Petro called the attacks a massacre of the Palestinian people in a post on the social media network X, formerly known as Twitter. Israel's foreign ministry did not immediately respond to a request for comment. And that's the brief article that I wanted to read to give you a little bit of context. And now let's go to the short video. The video is also short. That talks about this. And again, this is from Al Jazeera. It's a 2-minute clip on the topic. Let's listen.
Bolivia's government says it's breaking diplomatic ties with Israel, accusing it of committing crimes against humanity in Gaza. Bolivia cut ties with Israel in 2009 after its attacks on the Gaza Strip, only restoring them in 2020. Bolivia says it condemns the aggressive and disproportionate Israeli military offensive. Manuel Rapalo is following developments from Mexico City.
The government of Bolivia has officially severed ties with the state of Israel. We are treating this as a developing story because following that announcement by the Bolivian government, there were also statements made by other South American countries that they would be taking diplomatic actions of their own. Countries like Chile and Colombia, who have announced that they would be recalling their ambassadors to Israel. Now, the decision by Bolivia is a direct response to alleged human rights violations and alleged war crimes by Israeli defense forces in the Gaza Strip. I want to read you just a portion of the statement that was issued by the Bolivian government on Thursday afternoon, which reads, quote, "We demand an end to the attacks on the Gaza Strip, which have so far claimed thousands of civilian lives and caused the forced displacement of Palestinians." This is not the first time historically that Bolivia has severed ties with Israel. This was done in 2009 by former Bolivian President Evo Morales in response to Israel's invasion of the Gaza Strip. But again, to the point of this being a developing story, answering that question of whether or not we can expect other regional leaders to also take diplomatic actions of their own. Colombian President Gustavo Petro took to Twitter announcing he would be recalling his ambassador. Chile's President Gabriel Boric announced on the social media platform X that he would be recalling his ambassador, referring to the bombardment of Gaza as, quote, collective punishment. Now, it is quite late here in Mexico City, but it is reasonable to expect that other regional leaders will make their positions heard. We should be expecting more statements from leaders around Latin America, probably more so in the daylight hours. Manuel Rapalo, Al Jazeera, Mexico City.
Yeah, I think that's enough. I think that's enough. I'll now show, go back to another headline here. This is from the Cradle. Latin American nations start cutting ties with Israel over Gaza genocide. And I'll read: the government of Bolivia announced late on the 31st that it was cutting relations with Israel in repudiation and condemnation of the campaign of genocide unfolding inside the Gaza Strip. And here is Kashakshan News. Bolivia becomes the first country in America to formally break relations with Israel in a period since the operation in the past. So let me play this.
Estamos remitiendo esta comunicación oficial al Estado.
And this is the official reading of the declaration here. So play.
Estamos
We are
remitiendo
sending
esta comunicación
the official communication to the state of Israel, to which, as stated, we make known our decision to polarize nations of Bolivia to break diplomatic relations with Israel. We also demand an end to the attacks in the Gaza Strip, with which so far caused thousands of civilian deaths and the forced displacement of Palestinians. We will send humanitarian aid to those affected in the Gaza Strip who are going through a serious health crisis that threatens the lives of thousands of people. Let's bring it back to the article from the video. Bolivia initially downgraded ties with Israel in 2009 over war crimes committed in Gaza. Their relations further strained in 2014 over the same reason, with former President Evo Morales declaring Israel a terrorist state. Following the U.S.-backed coup in 2019, La Paz restored relationships with Israel. You see how that works? A U.S.-backed coup, then you install somebody who will normalize Israel instead of Evo Morales declaring Israel a terrorist state. Neighbors Colombia and Chile are also recalled their ambassadors to Israel for a consultation on Wednesday, condemning Israel's ethnic cleansing campaign in Gaza and calling for an immediate ceasefire. Similarly, Chilean President Gabriel Boric accused Israel of unacceptable violations of international humanitarian law and of implementing a policy of collective punishment of the people of Gaza. Chile has the largest Palestinian community outside of the Arab world. I had no idea of that. Several other Latin American leaders have expressed their repudiation of Israel's action.